My dear students, good morning. This is Deepak Kumar, and today I shall be taking your ASL class. In today's class, I shall be delivering you an article that is written by Ashwin Sanghi, an author of best-selling works of fiction. The title is India's Draupadi Moment. So, I request all of you to listen to the audio content carefully. Okay, so let's start. India is a country where soldiers chant Bharat Mata Ki Jai or victory to Mother India as their call to arms. Note the reference to a mother rather different from the German, Dutch, Scandinavian, Slavic and Baltic notions of a fatherland. When environmental issues are discussed, we talk about the effect of our actions on Mother Nature. When devotees take a dip in the Ganges, they are symbolically being embraced in the loving arms of Ma Ganga. When we plant trees, we silently give thanks to Mother Earth. Hindi cinema's 1957 production Mother India was one of the greatest hits ever and remains the second highest grossing Indian film of all time. Twice a year, India celebrates Navratri, or the festival of 9 nights, to mark the victory of the goddess Durga over the demon Mahishasura. Even in worship, Hindus chant Jai Siaram or Radhe Krishna, always placing Sita and Radha before Ram and Krishna. So, when one hears that a woman is raped every 16 minutes in India, it's difficult to reconcile this shocking statistic with our presumed respect for Shakti, a tradition that can be traced back several millennia. In 2013, a joint team of Indian and American archaeologists carried out excavations in the Son Valley of Madhya Pradesh. They found a circular platform with a triangular stone at its center. The findings were estimated to be 11,000 years old. Imagine the surprise of the archaeological team when they found that Khol and Baiga tribals living in the neighborhood continued to offer daily prayers to a similar triangular stone representative of their mother goddess Mai. Shakti is the energy at the very root of creation. Mothers give birth, thus Shakti is the energy that gives birth. Shakti inspires Shiva, and it's only when the two come together that creation, preservation and renewal are made possible. Ardhanarishwara, a Hindu representation of a half male and half female deity, is symbolic of the equal importance assigned to both genders. But it's becoming increasingly apparent that worshipping Shakti is limited to temples and prayers while we continue to denigrate the living Shakti in our lives. Sure, rape isn't a modern problem. When the Goths ransacked Rome in the 5th century, St. Augustine referred to wartime rape as an ancient and customary evil. The ancient Greeks thought of the act as well within the rules of warfare. Spanish conquistadors raped women of the Aztec Empire in Central America in thousands. Even as late as World War II, over 20,000 women and girls were raped within the first few weeks of the Japanese occupation of the Chinese city of Nanking. Over 1 lakh German women were raped by Soviet forces after the Battle of Berlin. The Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971 saw thousands of Bangladeshi women tortured and raped by the West Pakistan forces. Nor is rape a particularly Indian problem. According to NCRB, India had a rape incidence rate of 5.2 cases per 1 lakh people as of 2018. This pales in comparison to South Africa with a rate of 132.4, Sweden with 63.5, or even the US with 27.3. But one must remember that a vast majority of rapes go unreported in India, so the figures may not be strictly comparable. And it still begs the question, why is India perceived as a dangerous country for women? We can search for answers in patriarchy, skewed sex ratio, caste power play, religions, and cultural misogyny. We can find historical reasons in Manusmriti, Kautilya's Arthashastra, Islam's Shariks, or Macaulay's Puritanism. We can attempt to contextualize rape and sexual violence through the prism of religion, culture, and history. Sorry. But where could what that get us? The 2012 gang rape and murder of Nirbhaya made average Indians yearn for effective policing and efficient justice. But shouldn't we be ashamed of the fact that it took 8 years for 4 of the adult convicts to be hanged? Besides Nirbhaya, there have been numerous examples, including those at Ajmer, Sonbeli, Mumbai's Shakti Mills, Unnao, Kathua, Bikaner, Kanduni, Ranaghat, Hyderabad, and too many more to mention. There's a strange pattern in these cases. First, there is outrage. Selective leaks result in ghastly details of the crime. Then, social media descends into community blaming. Candlelight visuals follow. Politicians make wild statements, and the perpetrators are arrogant enough to believe that they can play the system. Of course, they are not entirely wrong. Finally, the rape disappears from public memory. There are many things India can do to curb rape. The most obvious suggestions include a higher proportion of females in the police force, better procedures, and a quicker legal process. But at this core, rape is about exercising power over another. In India, the power balance has been tilted towards males in each era. This includes viewing females as property in the Dharma Shastras, recognizing the husband's role authority over his wife's body in Islam, or seeking rape through the lens of Victorian Puritanism in the country's penal code. This imbalance must be corrected through economic progress and education. Let India never forget the vow of Krishna to Draupadi when she narrated her humiliation at the hands of the Kauravas to him. The heavens may tumble, the mountains may be raised, the oceans may dry like a corpse's bones, earth herself may rupture, but I shall keep my oath to you. To avenge the crime against you, there will be a war to end all wars. India's moment to avenge Draupadi's shame has arrived once again. Thank you.